give them I'm going to take my lesson from Michael and take off my shoes here. Listen, certainly, hopefully that applause was not for me. That was for my team of prayer warriors and the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm not as gifted as a speaker as Michael is, so please bear with me as I get through this. Some parts are a little bit still raw and emotional for me, but nonetheless, I'll do my best. Everything that Michael told you is absolutely true. The doctors were not wrong when they diagnosed me and told my parents, sitting across the table from them, that I literally had weeks to live. That was a fact, but God said, well, that might be the case, but I've got something to say about that. Amen. And one of the things that I took with me, or some of the memories, which were very few while I was there in the hospice, one reason being is that they had me on some pretty heavy detox medication that I wasn't actually even supposed to be on. And I was on it for an additional 10 days, which was causing my liver to fail even faster than it already had been. So thanks to Nicole, as a matter of fact, she notified my parents that something is not right here. And they in turn called one of my very dearest old friends, doctor up in Charlotte, North Carolina. He looked at the blood test results and he looked at the medication that they were giving me, and they said, you have got to stop this immediately. The man is already dying, and you're just making the process continue faster. So with that, they stopped the medication, and I really do not fault the hospice for any reason, because when you find yourself in hospice, you're not really there to get better. They're just there to kind of keep you as comfortable as possible before you pass along. So I was starting to kind of recover a little bit, as Michael had mentioned, get my wits back about me, and I was very eager to start exercising or just moving around or doing anything that I could. But the only way in my condition that I could do that was with an assistance of a cane and my father, who had to hold me up. Amen. As I walked down the corridors of the hall for literally 5 minutes at a time. That's all it could take. And by the way, you're wondering if I just came from a workout. I did not. This is, at the conclusion, I'll tell you the reason that I'm wearing what I'm wearing. But with that, I started to get a little bit stronger, and but it was time to go, as Michael had said. I remember specifically the director of the hospice came in, and she sat me down and she said, well, Jeff, I got some good news and I got some bad news. I said, well, hit me with some good news. I'm on my deathbed here. She says, well, you're getting better. The signs are improving. I said, well, there can't be any bad news. She said, well, bad news is you're improving so much you can't stay here anymore when you adjourn. So that's when the process of me going over to the House of Hope, which is actually right here in Wildwood, Florida, began. But prior to going, my mother had called the hospice, and they left me a message, and she said that there was a special person that wanted to come to see me before I had gone to the House of Hope. And that was my 9-year-old daughter, Kate. This is where it gets tough, sorry. So Kate came and visited me, things were improving, it still turned out to be literally probably the worst day of my life. Because when she arrived, she didn't have to say a word. She just looked in her eyes. And she'd go, "You have the pain?" And she just wanted that to get better. So I assured her that was going to be the case. And the following day, I went over to the House of Hope. And at the House of Hope, you have to also keep in mind at this point, I'm a children's book author of Christian books, believe it or not. The sales of the books were really not going anywhere at the time. So, I'm on the point of being an indigent, meaning I'm not making any income. Therefore, I don't have any health insurance. So, with all of that and everything that's going on, we find our way over to Langley Medical Center, and they literally put me on this thing called a sliding scale, which allowed me to get some sort of relief on medical bills. And so they assigned me to the actual chief doctor at Langley Medical, which was a miracle in itself because he doesn't take many people. I didn't ask for it. Getting qualified for the sliding scale was also a miracle in itself. He said, even the guys at the House of Hope said, you probably don't have a chance of getting any sort of relief, but we're going to try it anyway. Well, sure enough, 10 minutes later, I'm approved for this, this coverage. And 10 minutes after that, they assigned me to this chief doctor. So, blood tests were done. He said, this is well beyond my capacity here. Why don't we set you up with a specialist? He said, it's probably going to take a couple of months. You can see a specialist. I said, Doc, a couple of months? Give me a couple months to live. He said, well, that's about the best we can do. So they assigned me to a specialist, a gastroenterologist, right here in Villages. And not 2 days later, I get a call from this gentleman. And he says, well, we've had a cancellation. Why don't you come on in? I said, okay. Didn't have to ask me twice. So, and I know we probably all had experiences in doctor's offices as well. So I arrived right on time. And actually, I arrived, I think, about an hour earlier. And just knowing, the routine. And as I'm filling out the paperwork, the nurse comes over and says, well, we just had another cancellation. Want to go to the team right now? So I said, well, certainly. Absolutely. So, he's a specialist, like I said, and he looked at the test results. He said, wow, I can just tell by looking at you and in your jaundiced state, you not only probably have liver failure, but very, very good chance you have cirrhosis of the liver. It's probably gone to your kidneys. Hepatitis C. It's probably a very good possibility. But he says, listen, why don't we just do this? Let's get you an ultrasound, find out what we're dealing with, and if there's any hope. So I said, okay. Mind you, I've only been at the House of Hope for a couple of weeks at this point. So we get the ultrasound done, and a week later, doctor calls. Actually, it was the doctor's nurse. She calls on a Friday. I didn't get the message in time, and they weren't going to be open again until the following Monday. So I get the receptionist over at the House of Hope says, well, your doctor called, but he can't talk to him until Monday. So I'm sitting there all weekend. But the main thing is I just had this sense that everything was going to be fine. And sure enough, call on Monday. I actually I didn't even talk to the doctor himself. I talked to one of his assistants, explained who I was, and she said, well, why are you calling? And I said, well, I had an ultrasound done. Here's my situation. She said, well, looking at your report, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with you. I said, why don't you just go get the doctor? So she did, and he happened to be with the patient, but he would call back, he would review them. And he ended up calling back. I did not specifically speak to him. The administrator at the House of Hope spoke to him. And he said, I've been doing this for a very long time. He said, these test results that I've just received show that Jeff has no physical ailments whatsoever. His liver is functioning properly. There is nothing wrong with his kidneys. There is no signs of hepatitis C based on blood tests. I smoked for 20 years. I didn't have a spot on my lungs. He says, this guy's got lungs the size of a lion, and his heart is pumping like a bear.
Praise God.
So, needless to say, I was on cloud nine for a few days, and Father's Day was approaching, and at the House of Hope we had a reception, and if you recall, I mentioned to you the time that my daughter saw me first, right before going to the House of Hope, it was the worst day of my life. Well, they had a surprise for me there at the House of Hope that day. Families arrived, kids arrived, and my parents arrived, and in tow was my daughter. I couldn't move very fast, but I saw her and picked her up. She said, Daddy, the doctors cured you. I said, well, no, sweetheart, they did. Jesus Christ did. So, what was the worst day just a few weeks prior turned out to be the best day of my life. Minus the day she was born, actually. So, I ended up staying at the House of Hope for a while, just to start the healing process and spiritual healing as well, or continue the spiritual healing. I was saved. You got to be a fool not to. So this is where this comes in, and this is where I'm actually going to need y'all's help. Celebrate Recovery has been such an integral and important part to my whole healing process. Without you prayer warriors, I don't believe I'm standing here right now, to be honest with you. And that's the power of prayer. And God heard you, and that's the grace of God. So, while I was there, God imparted on a number. I want you to focus on the number 413. I said, 413. Okay. 413. So I got nothing. He said, well, let's go to the Bible. I said, all right. So I started looking up verses. And started with 413. Came to, as we all know, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Jesus Christ who strengthens me. Boom. I love it. That's going to be my mantra. And it is. It still is to this day. And he says, well, I need you to dig a little bit deeper. It's not over yet. I said, all right. So I started flipping through the Word and couldn't find any verses, 413 verses that I felt were relevant. He said, he told me, he said, listen, I didn't say 413, I said 413. So he directed me to Psalms chapter 41, verse 3. And that psalm reads, and the Lord sustained him on his sick bed and restored him from his bed of illness.
Wow.
So I said, okay, I got it. He says, all right, we're still not done. Okay. He says, well, they've done you the dead man walking miracle. Was a dead man walking, that was all due to me. Not just a walking miracle. And Lazarus, which our good Pastor Michael, he gets full credit for that, by the way. He said, I want to take this opportunity and what I want you to do is I want you to start a walk. It's going to commence on my birthday, which is November the 19th, and it's going to conclude on my daughter's birthday, which is December the 31st. The only day I'm going to take off is Christmas Day. And if you do the math, that's 41.3 days. So, what I'm going to be doing is, starting on the 19th, I'm going to be walking at 4:13 in the afternoon from New Covenant Methodist Church to Hope Lutheran Church. Hope Lutheran just happens to be the church that supports and funds the House of Hope. And I'm going to walk for 4 hours and 13 minutes. And the purpose of this walk is I am going to be praying for every individual from the four corners of the earth for the same healing and grace that God showed me. Myself, that's fine. But as Michael referenced prior to, when there are two or more gathered in his name, he's going to be present. So, here's where I need your help. I need you to, now you don't have to come out there and walk with me for 4 hours and 30 minutes. But if you could just take a time each day, from November 19th to the 31st, whether it's 41.3 seconds or 4 minutes and 13 seconds, take a walk and pray, not only for yourself, but for everybody else who is dealing with our hurts, hang-ups, and our habits. And I believe that if we're all praying for one another, and we can spread this virally, we can have thousands, if not millions of people praying for one another all at the same time. There will be 413 around the world somewhere at all times. So it's going to be a constant prayer, all of us praying for one another. And I believe that God will answer those prayers. So the last thing I would like for you to do is, if you wouldn't mind, I would very greatly appreciate you sponsoring me for $4.13 for that period of time, and spread the word as far and wide as you can. And let's raise enough money, excuse me, where we can take that money and we can use it to purchase the 4-pack Celebrate Recovery participants guides that normally cost everybody who participates $20. I want to take that money and buy as many of those 4-packs to be handed out to not only people who attend, but take 2, give one to somebody that you might think needed. Let's send it to some jails, jail ministries, so they have something to fall back on, once they're out and go to. Anything that we can do to promote the Celebrate Recovery cause, I think is so vitally important. And I've set up an account on GoFundMe.com/Lazarus Walk. That's what this is called. It's called Lazarus Walk. And I've also have a t-shirt available at Booster.com/Lazarus Walk. And it's the coolest t-shirt you're ever going to buy. Let's set a fire for Jesus Christ around the globe. Let's start right here. That's my testimony. I love each and every one of you.
We love you, Jeff.
We love you too, Jeff.
And God bless you.
Glory to God.